Okay, moving on to SW-2. If we take a look, the first thing we're going to have to make sure we set up correctly is that it's in metric, it's millimeters. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3 separate extrusions to make this go fairly quick. So let's move over to the SolidWorks screen. Make sure you open a new part. And once you're in this workspace, go up to Settings, click on Document Properties, Units, MMGS, click OK. Okay, so as we said, let's do our first extrusion off the front view plane and extrude that back. Our width is 12, our height is 60. Let's go ahead and try that. So extrude a boss base out of the front plane. And let's go off our origin point, click rectangle, click and drag a tall, thin rectangle. Okay, now move over to Smart Dimension. Click on our first line segment, drag this up. That dimension will be 12. Let's click this line to the left. That dimension is going to be 60. Now we're all set. It's fully defined. Let's go to Exit Sketch, and it should bring you into a 3D mode. Now we want to make sure we change our distance here to go backwards, and we want to set that distance, as we said, to 50. There we go. Okay, the next thing we can do before we move on is cut out this piece. We just have to know our measurements. 22 millimeters forward, 16 wide, and 20 millimeters up from the bottom. And I'm going to stay in the 3D view. We're going to do extruded cut from our right side plane. Click on the rectangle. Make sure you hook onto this top line. Click and drag a rectangle. Now we're going to Smart Dimension. Again, let's take a look. 22, 16, and 20. So we'll set our Smart Dimension. We'll click on this point and this point. That dimension is going to be 22. This next point, we're going to click on the line. That is going to be 16. And finally, our last dimension, this is going to be 20. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and make sure you actually set this up before we do the extruded cut. Alright, now once you've defined everything, you're going to exit Sketch. It will show you in a 3D window that it's ready to cut. Now you could just type and drag through all, which works, and click the check mark. Okay, our next extrusion, we're going to build this, but we're going to build it as a rectangle just to make it easy. We just have to know how wide it's going to be, and we want to figure out what plane to go off of. So again, we're going to go from this plane right here. So let's go ahead and do that. We have to know what the width is. So here's where you have to do a little math. Well, we've already done this. We know it's 12. 12 minus 56, that's going to be 44. So let's go ahead and do that. So extrude a boss base off of this plane. Go ahead and click and drag a rectangle off of this corner. Okay, what we need to know is how wide it is. We know that it's 9 millimeters wide. So let's go over to the SolidWorks window. Let's go to Smart Dimension. And let's click this. Let's tell it that we only want it to be 9 millimeters thick. Okay, now we're about done because all we need to do is the length of it. So we, again, 12 minus 56, that's 44. Let's click Exit Sketch and set our distance to 44. Okay. Now we're all set. Now we're going to wait to cut this plane off of it until we extrude this next part. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to cut this, or extrude this, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, now our last extrusion is going to be this portion here, and then we'll do our cuts and be done. We're going to click on Extrude a Boss Base. You're going to click on this plane right here, and click on Rectangle. Click on the bottom corner and drag a rectangle forward. Now let's Smart Dimension it. We know that the height is 12, so let's go ahead and Smart Dimension that to 12. And we also know our width is 44. Our length and width is 44. So let's go ahead and smart dimension that. 44. And finally, click Exit Sketch and extrude that forward 44, which it's already going to be set to, and click the check mark. Okay. Now we'll start our cuts and be done. We'll do extruded cut. This is good because we need to go off of this plane right here. We do not need to know our dimensions. We're just going to hook onto this endpoint, to this endpoint, to this endpoint, and back. Exit Sketch and click the check mark. Now we have to do one final cut. We need to place this rectangle 14, 12, 12. Let's go ahead and do that. Extruded cut, top view, rectangle, and let's smart dimension it. We know that this distance is 12, and we know this distance is 12. And finally, this last dimension is set to 14. Okay, once we're done, exit sketch, and it shows that it will cut all the way through. Check. Okay, make sure you save in the public drive as SW-2.